Good morning. Thank you, Alan, for the introduction, and thanks for the opportunity to present. And thank you, Will, for going through Guru. This has been a major focus of my life for the past 2 years. It's incredible to see where things are at. So thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to launch right in. Today, I want to talk about our product roadmap. I'm going to first orient you on C3 AI's products. And then there's so much happening in our product roadmap. I'm going to have to pick and choose. So I'm going to just cover some product highlights in this session. I'm going to try to get through it. A lot of content to get through. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. But then we also have a lot. I'm just going to give a shout out to our demo stations. We have a full demo kiosk. I encourage you to visit that. And we also have a number of hands-on labs. And I'll call that out as I go through the session. Following my talk, I'm going to invite my colleague Jake Whitcomb up on stage. And Jake is actually going to give you a product demonstration live here in this keynote. So with that, let's jump right in. So if you look at most of your enterprise landscapes, you're going to see, and Stephen alluded to it in his talk, Will alluded to it in his talk, you see a fragmented data landscape. You have data from enterprise systems, ERP systems, CRM systems, SCADA systems, MES systems. In most enterprises, you'll also see external data feeds that are relevant to use cases, weather, social media, news feeds, et cetera. And most enterprises have also put in place one or more data lakes. And this could be on Microsoft Azure. This could be Databricks. This could be Snowflake, et cetera. So it's a very complex data landscape. And the first product, the flagship product of C3 AI, is what we call the C3 Agentic AI platform. And what that does is it allows us to fuse, to unify these data sources, regardless of where they are, virtualize them if that's possible, or formally ingest them into cohesive object models. And these object models are what power the downstream applications. And so that's a core feature of the C3 Agentic AI platform, this ability to unify data and then provide all of the services necessary and sufficient to develop and operate applications and AI agents. So the next layer, so that's the first layer of the platform, the first product we provide, C3 Agentic AI platform. We also provide a family of very rich, very deep domain-specific applications. These are organized into application suites. And this encapsulates 15 years or so of the work that we've done with you all. It encapsulates our experience in asset-heavy industries. It encapsulates our experience, deep business workflows in supply chain. It incorporates the domain-specific knowledge that we've painstakingly built over the years that gives you an acceleration as you deploy these applications, as you try to seek economic and operational value from using our products. And over the past 2 to 3 years, what we've done is heavily infuse these applications with AI agents. And these are domain-specific agents that know business context, that know business processes, that operate within applications to unlock value. And it's not just AI agents, it's agentic workflows and now full automation that is available. Stephen talked briefly about clawbots. Well, hey, we have an enterprise-grade, autonomously operating capability that is similar to that, but secure. And I'll talk more about that today. So all of these three pieces interoperate when it comes to the C3 AI product suite. So we have the platform, we have applications, and everything we're doing in Agentic AI. And I'm going to cover these elements today. So with that, there's 4 main elements I'm going to cover in the product roadmap. The first is a capability we're calling C3 AI Data Fusion. Some of you have seen that before. We have Agentic AI Everywhere, Developer Hub, and C3 AI Applications. So let's jump right in. So first, C3 AI Data Fusion. What this is it's a visual metaphor, a visual way of a user onboarding and connecting to data, and then unifying those data into common ontologies to power downstream applications. So it's a very powerful kind of visual metaphor for using the system. Prior to data fusion, you might have had to write code to connect to data, to bring data into the C3 AI platform. This actually greatly democratizes the data experience around C3 AI. So our spring release is end of April. And so in this data fusion product, in our spring release, we're going to be releasing 250 plus data connectors available in this visual interface. And this is going to greatly streamline the ability for enterprises to onboard new data sources into C3 AI and bind them into applications. So not only connecting to data, we also have very sophisticated capabilities in data fusion for structured data integrations. So I can author full transformation pipelines, field-level transforms into destination ontology objects, extend those objects as needed. We also have an LLM-based auto-mapping capability that will be available in our April release as part of this structured data integration capability. Not only structured data, you can also use this capability in data fusion for unstructured data integration. So imagine documents, chunking, indexing, parsing, metadata tagging, all of the domain-specific annotations we might want in documentations and configurations of those. All of those will also be available in exactly the same visual metaphor as part of data fusion in our spring release. And then the last thing I want to cover in data fusion is a full built-in data lakehouse. Now, I know many of you probably have data lakehouses or warehouses or data lakes already, but if you have data that are not a part of those, we can obviously take advantage of those lakehouses, but if you have data that are not landed in those and you want to take advantage of a lakehouse feature, you can just bring it into C3 AI and we'll model it cohesively with other objects in the ontologies. So that concludes data fusion. So there are a lot of very cool features that we're introducing to greatly simplify the data integration unification experience on C3 AI. The next element of the roadmap that I want to talk about is what we're calling Agentic AI everywhere. And there's a few pretty seminal advancements here that I want to talk about. The first one is a capability for agentic workflows. This is a product we're calling C3 AI Agentic Process Automation. And this product actually launched in January. So it's part of our 8.9 product that we launched into the market in January. Many of you are customers, some of you charter customers. Thank you for your partnership as we built this product. And what it allows you to do is bring together the best of deterministic business process flows. So in businesses, whether when you're operating a business, you want certain guidelines, certain guardrails to be followed. So let's say it's in a supply chain, it could be something like a supplier onboarding process or RFQ process that you're running. You want certain steps to be followed. But at the same time, you might want to take advantage of AI agents because they're incredibly expressive and they're creative and they can solve edge cases. This product allows you to bring both of those capabilities to bear. You can have determinism, multi-step flows, but then you can also have multi-agentic systems with individual agents being orchestrated as part of those flows. So it's a very cool capability. What this is going to do is be able to define and execute any business workflow across any relevant data that are mapped to C3 AI ontologies with no code. And you can declare these workflows in production. And our applications ship with many of these workflows pre-built. So natural language to workflow, you can configure how the workflow should run. You can test and publish these workflows. Workflows can actually run autonomously. So this gives you that enterprise clawbot type capability where these workflows can always be listening for events or they can be running on schedule and they can take care of things if a supplier is delayed, if you have a quality issue, if you have a master welder not show up for work. These are the workflows that are going to pick up those action items and then walk through a procedure with governed steps as well as agentic reasoning all coming together. Please do come by our demo booths. We have folks standing by there who can give you a demonstration or you can try it out yourself. We also have a full, when it comes to agentic AI, governance and responsible AI becomes super important. So we are actually launching with our spring release a full suite of capabilities of tools to actually govern agents and the tools that they use. The way that AI agents work, when we talk about tools, what we mean is deterministic code that's allowing the agent to interact with the real world. Think about the ability for an AI agent to invoke an API, or think about the ability for an AI agent to do a web search. So in our product now, you are able to search for and find all existing agents and tools, select the tools that you want, select the agents that you want, publish them, deploy them, or you can use this, the visual editor to inline create net new agents and tools just without leaving this, simple UX experience. So it's a very cool capability, also part of our spring release. And then lastly here, in terms of the main agentic AI features, is a full inbuilt agent observability and governance capability. So cost management, token management, throughput management, retrieval times. You can manage all of those, tool chain executions, see all of those things, and get a granular sense of how these AI agents and AI systems are operating inside your enclave, set boundaries, set guardrails, and make sure everything is operating to spec. So that all is under the Agentic AI umbrella in that element. There's one more very cool feature that I want to talk about in the context of Agentic AI. And Stephen mentioned this in his keynote. He called it out. It's part of our spring release. It's a capability we're calling C3 code. And this is really the glue, and I'm super excited about this because I think this is really the glue that brings everything we've done for the past 15 years together. And it's a capability for agentic application development and application configuration. All aspects of everything we've done in C3 is configurable now through C3 code. This is what is giving us internally tremendous acceleration, and I think it's going to give this tremendous acceleration to your businesses as well. We've been furiously using it for the past 3 or 4 months, and the feedback, internal feedback we've been getting is really awesome. So we're going to launch this also in April. And what you can do with C3 code is really manage a full life cycle of this future of agentic AI. You're able to do things like data integration and unification. So imagine you're onboarding some new data sources into your application. Just use C3 code. It will scan the data. It will reason the data. It will map the data. It will create the ontology objects or extensions as needed. No human data engineering required for that painful first step of mapping data into ontologies. Application configuration or extensions. If I have an existing application, I want to modify it, I want to add a new screen, I want to add new fields, I want to add new workflows, this will help you just do that. Net new development, it will help you do that, and AI operations. So I want to give you a quick sense of it, and please do stop by our demo stations or our labs to see it. Here I'm creating some net new supplier visualizations on top of our supply chain application suite. And I've asked C3 code to go out and do it. So C3 code will spin up a workspace, and it will work asynchronously. It might take 30 minutes, it might take 60 minutes to go through and reason on my prompt, but it comes back with incredible results. So here I have a full user experience around my supplier visualizations, KPI visualizations, and it's building these not as prototypes, these are real applications. So behind the scenes, I'm able to access all of the C3 AI tooling. I'm able to see that it's actually taken advantage here of real-world data connections. So it's actually using your real data sources as it's going out and building this extension to my supplier application. And it's also writing ontology objects. The C3 AI object model is being updated and edited by these things. So it's backed by real databases, real security, real user management. In the past, this would have taken people opening up their IDE, coding, or using agents to code with their IDE. This actually greatly democratizes all of that stuff and opens up the aperture for who can work in this C3 AI ecosystem, and also the impact that you can unlock very rapidly, 10x, 100x type impact. So please, again, do come and see C3 code, and we're excited to have you guys try it out. The next element of the product roadmap is Developer Hub. We're doing a lot to improve the data science, data engineer, application engineering experience on top of C3 AI. Many of you have technical teams working on our products. And one of the new capabilities we're launching here is an inbuilt in-browser kind of VS Code IDE experience. In the past, your developers would have to use your local IDE to connect to C3 AI server to develop. They would have to sometimes overcome networking issues, VPN issues, et cetera. We'd have to manage syncing of code, those types of problems. This greatly simplifies that experience. It's an option that developers can use. So it allows you to launch the IDE directly from C3 AI Studio. It runs inside your development environment. All of the hibernation resume flows are hardened. So we think it's going to greatly improve the development experience. Two other things. We introduced a new training portal. So it's a revamped experience of taking data science, data engineering, app development training on C3 AI. We've also introduced a new product documentation site, completely redone, and our documentation team has done a tremendous job with this. LLMs are available inbuilt inside the site that are going to give you answers if you are looking for documentation or you're looking for code examples. And what's really cool is this documentation site is now open to the public. So you can actually view a lot of our documentation, just from our website. And this is done. This is actually available. Of course, there's going to be some more detailed documentation that's behind a login screen for our customers, but a lot of our documentation should actually be accessible now. Applications. A couple of application highlights that I want to highlight with our upcoming release in spring. We've done a lot of work in our applications domains, and some of them you'll see in the demo areas, and I'll call out a few of them. First, our flagship application suite, C3 AI's Asset Performance Suite. And this allows industrial companies to maximize values from their asset operations. And we have a product called C3 AI Reliability that predicts failures before they occur for complex equipment. So you can do maintenance proactively versus reactively. One of the things that we've introduced are complex agentic workflows using our agentic process automation product as part of our spring reliability release. And one of those agentic workflows I just want to call out here is a virtual subject matter expert. So in the past, if I threw an alert in C3 AI Reliability, and many of you know this, a subject matter expert would have to process that alert, triage that alert, cross-check that alert with OEM documentation, make sure that it's actually a reasonable alert before dispatching a work order or a crew to work on it. What this allows you to do is to have an agentic system, really a multi-agentic system in this workflow product, actually triage the alert for you. So humans can go from being in the loop to being on the loop. And a vast majority of your enterprise workflows around asset operations can actually be autonomous with this capability. We're super excited about it. It's going to launch very soon. Another one, a very interesting development. We've been working very closely with Vonage, a subsidiary of Ericsson, on this. And Vonage and C3 AI this week in Mobile World Congress in Barcelona and here at C3 Transform are excited to launch our first AI-first field services offering. We're calling it C3 AI Field Services. This is a part of the reliability, C3 AI Reliability Asset Performance ecosystem. Interoperates with that ecosystem. And what it allows us to do is transform field operations. Vonage is providing through their global network of telco providers all of the high bandwidth network connectivity, 5G connectivity, on-demand connectivity, high bandwidth slices on demand when the operators really need it. So all of the networking is taken care of. Of course, we can take advantage of Wi-Fi and other capabilities where available, but in many cases it's not. So we want to have interoperable hybrid communication on the back end. But the application itself is quite transformative because a technician is now working with an AI agent. So a novice technician can do jobs that in the past a seasoned technician would have to do. This application will ensure that the technician has the right kit on hand, has the right safety gear on hand, understands exactly the procedures that they have to do, will walk them through the specific maintenance procedure when they get to the equipment. They can speak to the system, or they can type on the system, or they just can take a picture, and the AI agents in the system will help the technician troubleshoot, diagnose with full context all of the sensor data, structured data, unstructured data, past work that has been performed on the machine, actually walk them through the procedure. There's also a remote video connectivity built in where the technician can talk to a remote expert engineer if they need to, or that expert engineer can always be watching over the technician's shoulder to make sure that they're doing the right job. So it's a very cool capability, transformative for industrial operations. I know I've personally talked to many of you about this offering. I'm really excited to pilot it with you guys and to actually scale this out in your operations. Supply chain suite, a couple of highlights here. So we have a very rich family of applications here. We're introducing some very interesting and neat features in our C3 AI demand forecasting application, specifically around improvements to workflows. So the application has very powerful algorithms that can forecast with greater accuracy and help you improve your business outcomes. But one of the things we're introducing is the ability for users to define their own scenarios and play around with those scenarios, and then to join those scenarios in consensus workflows that actually drive impact for your business. So those workflows we think will add a lot of value as part of this new release in demand planning. The second application I want to call out here are improvements to our sourcing optimization application. This application allows global teams that are buying materials to ensure they're paying the best possible price from their suppliers. So imagine you have a global team that's buying industrial goods on your behalf. You want to track things like price anomalies. You want to track things like commodity correlations, index correlations. The application does all of that stuff for you. Some of the enhancements we're introducing are around business workflows. So things like renegotiation triggers, supplier risk sensing, similar part detection, and alternative sourcing recommendations are now fully built into the application workflows. So with that, I'm going to use this as a launching point to actually invite my colleague Jake Whitcomb up on stage, because he's going to show you how to set up sourcing optimization with all of the best tools we have assembled at C3 AI to solve a real-world business case. So with that, please welcome Jake.
Thank you, Nikhil, for that clear look into where our product is headed. Our roadmap represents the new state-of-the-art in enterprise AI, with C3 AI applications now becoming fully agentic. As you saw with the virtual subject matter expert available in reliability, we can automatically complete end-to-end complex workflows like triaging alerts, identifying likely failure modes, and then coming up with an action plan to submit that case order to the field. And then with the supply chain suite agents, we're able to automate the procurement lifecycle of the demand and supply chain at my node as well as my network level. And at the same time, the C3 Agentic AI platform is introducing new low-code tools to greatly speed up the productivity from C3 code, data fusion, and agentic process automation. We'll demonstrate those right now. And today, together, these innovations are making it 1 to 2 orders of magnitude faster to build, deploy, and operate AI applications at speed and scale. So let me show you in this brief demo how this all comes together. I'm an IT team. I'm on the IT team at North Star Automotive. We're a global industrial auto manufacturer. We have thousands of suppliers and millions of parts. And if just one of these suppliers becomes a delay, it can lead to weeks of downtime, months of downtime in my production lines for this truck. So my sourcing optimization team and procurement team tasked me to stand up the C3 AI sourcing optimization application to identify cost-saving opportunities across my supply network, as well as identify risks and action plans to address those. So I'm going to get started by standing up the application using the pre-built application modules that the agent can reason over, including supplier risk, RFQ workflow, and the supply chain digital twin, and then connect these modules back into my enterprise existing data lake systems. Let's get started. I show up at my desk in IT and I pull up C3 code, our automated environment for standing up in natural language real-time enterprise applications. I'm going to start with a simple prompt of what my business requirements look like. I'm going to ask it, please start the C3 AI sourcing optimization application, connect to external news feeds and risk feeds, build an AI application to AI model to identify savings opportunities and risk, and then a user interface to be able to surface those through alerts to the end users. Go. So the AI agent comes back with a product requirements document that I can review, edit, but this looks good for now. It also creates a plan to stand up the ontology, configure the business logic, the AI model, even write test cases for the application. This is the plan to execute, and I'm going to go get my first morning cup of coffee for the day. As this executes on the left-hand side, we see the plan executing from top to bottom. Now I can monitor this as it goes, and if I'm a coder, I can even go into the code tab and view the code that's being generated behind the scenes, configuring the C3 AI sourcing optimization application to my specification. Now, let's see how I did with the user interface. I'll click over, and I can see the application is ready, but it needs data to be populated. So I'm going to head over to C3 AI Data Fusion to populate data from my existing enterprise data lakes. So I'll pull up the tab for, first, the data ontology view. This is a unified view of my supply chain with logical assets of my business like item, order, and supplier. Now, this node is highlighted because it needs to be loaded with external data from my existing data lake. So I'm going to go click into the Data Integration tab to connect data using the pre-existing out-of-the-box data pipelines that come with the application. Now I'm going to have to connect a couple nodes here, but all I do is connect data on the left, and it gets transformed to the right, to my ontology. So I'm going to click the node on the left to add my existing Azure Data Lake, choose this, and then I'm going to select the supplier table that's available in the data lake that's pre-connected, and it's also going to infer the schema of the tables that I'm going to map into my ontology. This looks good. The AI has already taken care of the descriptions and inferring the data types. I'm going to move forward, and I'll complete this process for the rest of my data pipelines that are required for the current version of this specification of the application. So now, before I move forward to the app, I'm going to, of course, run data quality checks. I not only need to set this up in the beginning, but I need these to run autonomously in production to make sure that I'm hitting the quality standards that are required by the application. So I'll click over to ask the agent to set up the first data quality check run. The results look good. It's looking for missing data. It's looking for flat lines, foreign key relationships that are missing. I can feel confident knowing that as I ship this model into production, this application, I'll have continuous data flowing, and my alerts will be generated if I need to address them with my team. So let's see how we did in the user interface. I go back to the sourcing optimization application. I have my sourcing opportunities at the top. I have my global supply network risk highlighted around a single node, which is a critical asset alert. And I also have additional information about savings opportunities over time. I have the pricing indices that I asked for in the initial prompt. And I can go and deploy this to share it back with my procurement and supply chain team to get immediate feedback. So let's deploy this. I'll grab the link. I'll send it to my team. We'll come back to the application together now to test it out. We need to look at this first node that's already been identified as a high risk. This is a supplier of sheet metal called Meridian Metals. Now, the model identified this with 97% certainty that my business production line is at risk and could cost me over almost $300 million if I don't address it today. The AI summary coming back from the agent tells me that there was a fire at the facilities that leads this to inoperable, and the estimated lead time moves from 23 days to 4 months. I need to act on this right now, so I'll ask the agent to look for qualified vendors that can provide similar parts, assess pricing and capacity. Before I do that, I can look at the news alerts to investigate that this fire is taking place. Some of you might recognize this as a real case. North Star is a fictitious company, but this scenario is very real. I'll ask it to create those identified qualified alternative suppliers and come back with a list. I understand that these 3 suppliers that come back are quality vendors. Now, what I want to do next is actually create an RFQ based on the integrated RFQ database, and I can do that automatically directly from the sidebar of the agent. So procure a new purchase requisition that I can send to these vendors and get them to submit their request and ultimately award a purchase order. I can review the RFQ document here, which is based on my historical documentation that's been modified to this new vendor and use case. Now, let's go further. I don't have the time every time an alert is manually monitored to create this, to have this manual. I want this to run automatic in the background. So I'm going to ask the agent to create a process automation workflow to create this automatically every time an alert is fired. So the tool is creating. I can see the workflow is already being created by the agent. Now I'm going to head over to the Workflows tab, and I can see out of the box the agentic process automation application workflows come together with the sourcing optimization app. But I'm building this new RFQ workflow on the top. Let's look into the progress that's happening behind the scenes. The agent is standing up the nodes exactly to the spec that I just completed in the sidebar. It's pulling up the history of RFQs. It's looking for qualified vendors. And then it's going to assess the qualified vendors and send an email. Now, what I love about this tool, I have to click into this node to test it out, right? So on the left-hand side, I can configure the agent. I can sit with my procurement team and fine-tune the instructions to the agent to get this just right to my business practices. And on the right-hand side, I can actually test the agent. So I ask it to look for this outer side panel part from a similar supplier. It comes back with great results. I'm going to click Next. And now, what if I could automate this further, send this RFQ out to a list of 20 recipient qualified vendors, monitor the inbox, and ultimately send the purchase order to the awarded recipient. Go. Now the agent is going to build out, in order to do this, it's going to build out 2 channels of the pipeline. On the right-hand side, you see the email feedback loop where it's going to build nodes to send emails, to monitor the inbox, to respond to qualified leads, and ultimately assess the quality of these vendors. And then on the left-hand side, it's going to award that purchase order to the recipient and get a human-in-the-loop signature. Now, I will save this workflow in my application to automate this first procurement process for the business. And then I'll head back to the application. A few hours later, I get to the application with my procurement team, and I can see that there are already alerts and progress flowing in. Emails have been sent. 12 responses from qualified vendors have been received. A recipient has been awarded the purchase order, and signatures are awaiting. Now, this is all possible with the latest innovations in the roadmap available in the spring release. No more email chasing, no more numbers crunching in spreadsheets, and no more manual monitoring. This is real-time, safe, adaptive. We're very excited to invite you all to join and try out these latest applications in the AI marketplace after this. This is the latest state of the art in enterprise AI.